Hi, everybody. Welcome to the press. Welcome to our big show this week for the first of two PGA Tour events being played this week. The signature event, the Arnold Palmer Invitational, being played once again at Bay Hill Club and Lodge in Orlando. Was down there last week for a family golf trip. That's why we didn't have a video version of the show for the Cognizant Classic. Did everything I did Sunday night so that I could get down there on Monday and have a great week off. No weeks off for a long time after this. So we got a full video episode today to talk about API. We also have an audio-only episode for your true DGens to talk about the Puerto Rico Open. And then tomorrow, we will have an episode that's about everything else on the slate. We have a full slate this week, including Live in Hong Kong, the DP World Tour and Sunshine Tour in Johannesburg, South Africa, the LPGA on Hainan Island in China, the PGA Tour Champions in Boca Raton, Florida, and the Korn Ferry Tour in Chile. But today, that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about the Arnold Palmer Invitational. As I mentioned, played once again at the King's House at Bay Hill Club and Lodge. So this tournament used to be the Citrus Open, Florida Citrus Open, became the Bay Hill Invitational when it moved to Bay Hill in 1979. Played at Rio Pinar in town for, I guess, a decade or so before that. I actually played Rio Pinar on Monday. It was pretty cool. It was an awesome place, $50, great hang. If you ever want to do that, I highly suggest that you play there when you're playing golf in Orlando. This is a Dick Wilson and Joe Lee golf course. If you're familiar with Florida golf, certainly Dick Wilson's the name you know. You know him really from Doral and the Blue Monster, the original, before Gil Hanse got his name on it. Joe Lee is the guy who did all the Disney courses. There are 4 there. He did all of them. He's done a bunch in Florida. So 2 Florida dudes really came together to make this golf course. And it's been changed a bunch over the years. Palmer's gotten in there and changed it when he was alive. He's been gone almost 10 years now, which is kind of crazy. It's par 72 golf course, 74-66 tipped out on the scorecard. We only have 72 players in the field, so we're at the bare minimum. There is a cut, remember, the top 50 in ties, and any player within 10 shots of the lead, just like we have with Riv, just so you know that. $20 million purse, $4 million to the winner, 700 FedEx Cup points to the champion. All right, so there's not a whole lot of difference in the model, which you're going to see in the next slide, from the last signature event to this one. And there's really not a ton of change, I don't think, in the betting odds from our last tournament, our last signature event to this one. Obviously, the Cognizant was different, whole different ballgame. But 41 of the top 50 competing this week. Very similar look of feel, some in, some out, but mostly the same guys, of course, because of the top 50 from last year. So, Scotty Scheffler's plus 325 to win. I've seen him at plus 340. I've seen him at plus 350. You shop around for that. These odds are from the Superbook out in Las Vegas. But he's a 2-time winner here, as you'll see later on the show. He plays this course very well. He probably should have won a 3rd time when Kitayama won, but he likes the place. Clearly, he likes the place. The only question about Scotty Scheffler winning these days is, does he play well enough on Thursday to contend on Sunday seriously? I mean, he was 1 stroke away from continuing his top 10 streak to 19 tournaments, I think it was. He was 1 stroke out. If he plays decently on Thursday, he's in there, but he struggled on Thursday. We'll see what happens this time around. Rory McIlroy's 10-1. Played very well here in the past. Has done it here in the past. His game's in a good position, right? He's playing very well. The approach play is fantastic. Really, really good. If he can just kind of get the putter rolling on these surfaces, which are going to be firm and fast. Everything's going to be firm. Tee to green's going to be firm. Because I was down there last week. Not a lot of rain, maybe a overnight rain one night, but that went away very quickly. The ground was already firm. So this is a place he likes. Tommy Fleetwood, 18-1, 2 top 15s here the last 4 years. So he's played well here in the past. Not great, but certainly not poorly. I think a 10th and a 15th, enough to be on the fringes of contention. Xander Schauffele's 21, still waiting for him to really start playing serious golf this year. Matt Fitzpatrick is probably your biggest horse for course play, other than the guys we've mentioned so far. 4 top 15 finishes here. It's a place he clearly likes. It's a style he clearly likes. I've said on other materials that I've done around this tournament, this is what a U.S. Open would look like in the olden days, the Tom Meeks era, if Florida ever got to host U.S. Open ever again, which it probably won't. So, you're going to have deep rough, fast and firm conditions on the greens, firm landing areas. You're probably going to want to take less than driver on a lot of these holes. Water's in play everywhere, of course. So that sounds like a U.S. Open. That's Matt Fitzpatrick. Colin Morikawa should have won here last year. He got pipped by Russell Henley and then had a spat and a little hissy fit. but he's won at Pebble. He's probably got revenge on his mind. 25-1, played well at Riviera. Russell Henley is 30-1, that your defending champion, generally consistent. Is going to show up well in our model, but nothing special so far this year. Hideki playing really, really good golf. Doesn't really have a great track record here, but he does have a great lineup of results overall so far this year. So does Siwoo Kim. They're both 30-1. Cam Young's 35-1. I could see why people could like this. He can bang driver, uses it to his advantage, even if he doesn't hit fairways. Still gouge it out on a lot of these. That's probably fair to say. I don't love his course record here. Robert McIntyre, Patrick Cantlay, Harris English, Jake Knapp, Victor Hovland, Ludovic Aubert, all 40-1. I think if you want to buy into the theory that you can bomb and gouge your way around here, which I think you can, I absolutely think you can. That's why I like Victor Hovland. That's why I like Jake Knapp. And maybe you want to take a chance on Ludwig, who hasn't played very well this year, but there's something to be said for that. If you want to subscribe to the other theory that you've got to put the ball in play and you got to be a good ball striker, then you want to look at a Harris English. I think the thing you're going to notice here is there's a little bit, the distribution, what makes a course fit, we'll get into that later, is completely different than what you saw on the West Coast. Instead of like 65-35, it's 75-25. Not much on putting. Everyone's going to struggle putting. It's hard to make. 75, tee to green, you've got less emphasis on the short game in these conditions, more like 20%. And the reason that is because the rough is so deep here, you don't really have a lot of creativity. You don't have a lot of options to play shots. You're going to gouge it out with a wedge if you're far enough away, or you're going to try to hit a flop shot. And if you're in the front of the green, on the run up, which a lot of these greens do have some run up, but a lot of them are elevated, then you can, kind of hit your chip shot. You can hit your pitch shot. You hit into the short grass with your miss. But a lot of these misses are into deep stuff. So that de-emphasizes chipping and de-emphasizes short game. So that puts more emphasis on driving the golf ball and on your second shot. But you got to get the ball in play to be able to gain on your second shot. Just have to. Or you got to hit it far enough that you gain strokes and you can gouge out a wedge. You can get something on a wedge. That's why I think Victor Hovland does well here. He's done pretty well here, even though it doesn't seem to line up with how he plays. But think about Memorial, how Memorial is set up. Victor Hovland's the same way there. It doesn't make sense that he's won there, but he has because of that setup. It equalizes the short game because no one can do it. 45-1. Minwoo Lee, Chris Gotterup, Kurt Kitayama, Shane Lowry. Of those guys, Kitayama's won here in the past. That's why he's getting a little bump, and he's played well. Gotterup makes sense. Again, keep the ball in play. He's got the strength to get out of it. Minwoo's just playing really well. Shane Lowry has had 2 tournaments this year he could win, the Dubai Invitational on the DP World Tour, and last week, of course, played well at Pebble Beach. He's just kind of playing well. I'm wondering how much he's going to be annoyed by not winning. But other than that, I think he'd be intriguing. Ben Griffin withdrew from the Cognizant last week, didn't play, 50-1. I'm not feeling him right now. Sam Burns, 50-1 is kind of interesting to me. Bermuda Burns putting wise. But again, he's got to get the ball in play. Matt McNeely, Jacob Bridgman, Adam Scott, Ricky Fowler, all 50-1. I think of those guys, you would look at a Bridgman. He just won. He pulled out of Cognizant, WD, enormous bank balance, and he's playing great. He's done it. Now, what do you do next? Adam Scott plays this venue pretty well. Ricky Fowler's playing okay. I think he's flying under the radar a little bit. But, if you maybe pick those guys, Fowler would be ahead of McNeely, I guess, and Scott, but not by a ton. Ryan Gerard's 55-1. Justin Rose, who's done well here, 55-1. I would pick Rose for one and done. I would pick Gerard to bet to win, if that makes sense. They're different thoughts. Jordan Spieth is 60-1 and has played well here pretty well in the past, despite his horrible driving. I don't like him right now. Nikolai Højgaard, 60-1, has been great so far this year. The other Højgaard. So, that's an intriguing potential pick, but I'm not betting a Højgaard this week, either in Puerto Rico or here. Rasmus is way too short. He's 12-1 the PRO. It's insane. All right, model top 10. Let's go through that real quick. Scotty Scheffler way ahead of everybody at 2.985. Then it follows Rory McIlroy, the only player in the twos. Fleetwood, Austin Smotherman, again, very low track record, but he is here this week. He doesn't have a lot to work with, but he's played well, obviously, at PGA National, which may be a benefit. He's played well overall. Russell Henley, Xander Schauffele, Matt McCarty, Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay, and Hideki Matsuyama for your top 10. Let's look next at the next 30 of the 72-player field. Some guys that I think are interesting. Pearson Coody, I think some people are going to get behind because he's played so well this year. I would bet him more on a top 20 or top 10 than to win. I think this is a tough tournament to win if you don't have a lot of experience at this venue. Akshay Bhatia plays pretty well here. He's got the creativity, but he can also get pretty wild off the tee. My horse for course play of the week is Keegan Bradley. I know he's not played well so far this year, but he has 4 top 15 finishes here the last 5 years. He likes the venue, clearly likes the style of golf. This is something he can get behind. Justin Thomas is back. Stay far, far away. I have no idea where he's at with his back. Let's just leave that alone. Jason Day is 65-1 as well. That tells you something about what they think about Jason Day, I guess. But he played this tournament pretty well a couple of different times over the last few years. So, take that for what it's worth. Corey Connors does have a very good record here. I have not seen a lot of him this year that I love, but he does have a very good record here. Nico Echeverria is 80-1, now a 3-time PGA Tour winner. He has played well the last several weeks. I don't see a reason not to play him, but I don't see a reason to love him. It's good, that kind of befitting of a guy in the 80-1 range, I suppose. PGA National Champion course is in a lot of ways like this, a little friendlier, frankly, with the rough, but everything else pretty similar. A lot of water in play, a lot of tough tee shots. Got to hit the ball off the tee. The short game's mitigated by the rough. That it's a similar profile. Not exactly the same. It's a little quirkier over PGA National, but there you go. Keith Mitchell's been playing great, 80-1. Played well last week. Played well at Pebble. Playing pretty good. I like him. Nick Taylor, JJ Spawn, Michael Thorbjornsen, the rest of the 80-1s. Thorbjornsen pulled out of PGA National. He's in this. I think that makes more sense. I think his game can work for this. I don't know that I love it, but I think his game can work for it. Ryan Fox at 90-1, I think, is a sneaky pick this week. Played very well at Riviera. It's a ball strikers golf course. He has plenty of length off the tee. He's done pretty well at the tournaments where if you miss off the tee, it's a little trickier. I think he's found something. I think Sahith Theegala's found something at 90-1. I think he's a pretty good place right now. Your other 90s, Sam Stevens and Daniel Berger. Your hundreds, Taylor Pendrith, JT Poston, Matt McCarty. I do like Matt McCarty a lot. I don't know that he's a good fit for this venue, but I do like it a lot. If he can just keep it in play, he can do a lot of things. Sanjay M, Ryo Hisetsune, 125-1. He's cooled off a little bit from that great run at the start of the year, but that doesn't mean he can't play well now. And, if you want to take something from Phoenix and try to draw it to here, it's kind of like desert golf. You miss big, you're in big trouble. If you miss small, it might be okay. Tends to miss small. Your other guys in this range, 150-1, Denny McCarthy, Patrick Rogers, Brian Harmon, Chris Kirk, decent course record, Taylor Moore, Adric Potgieter. Potgieter, I don't particularly love at this venue, even though he hits the crap out of the ball, but he's going to have to play it more like he did when he tried to win at the Gary Player Invitational, 125-1 long shot. Want to come up short, but he took a lot of less than driver off the tee. He has the length to do it. If he can do that and stay disciplined, do the other parts right, he's kind of interesting, but I don't think interesting enough. And here's the last 12 in the field. Again, these weeks are a little easier. You only have 72 guys to care about. You get into the 200s. I did want to point out Austin Smotherman playing very well. I like Austin Smotherman's game a lot. Came up short at PGA National. Probably felt the pressure on the weekend of the opportunity, but that's a good thing for him. I think it's a long-term good thing for him. Joel Damon, on the other hand, has been great the last few weeks. I don't know where it came from, and I fully expected him to be at the Puerto Rico Open and just hammer him. But he's in this at 200-1. Does he have a good record here? No. But he's been playing pretty well, and this is an opportunity for him. I think he may try to seize on it a little bit. Everybody else, forget it. Tom Hoagie, 250-1. I think this course is just too punishing if he misses off the tee. He'd almost have to kind of play a perfect game type thing to win. All right. Take a look at the Bay Hill Club and Lodge scorecard. I've played here about 15 years ago, so it's longer than then, and I didn't play from the tips at that time anyway. Bay Hill is a tough golf course to get right because the winds change a lot. There's a lot of water in play, and it's accessible. I mean, the water isn't like 50 yards away. It's right there kind of stuff. Especially like the 6th hole and 10, and there's just a bunch of holes where you're like, it's right there, right in front of you. And it can be intimidating if you worry about such things. But there's also there's stretches where you can score. The par 3s are particularly stout on this golf course, in my view. I mean, 2 is nasty. 7's not too bad. 14's a tough hole. And 17 is just an intimidating tee shot. I mean, out of that chute to that green, which I know they changed last year, it's just a tough tee shot. It's the par threes here are kind of what make the difference. The par fives here are pretty accessible. 6 gets a lot of the rub because it's that kind of C shape, almost a horseshoe. It's not that hard of a tee shot. I mean, it's basically straight out, don't pull it, or start it on the right and slightly pull it and get where you want to go. 4 is not bad either. It's basically straight up the hill. I mean, it's long, but it's just straight up the hill. Just avoid bunkering. 12 is a good hole, and then 16 is kind of your eagle hole, right? It's a downhill tee shot off to the right from the chute that you play out of from the back tee. Just hit a cut as far as you can and as right as you can. Leave yourself a short iron in. That's your opportunity. That's really a par 4 for these guys. So that's your scoring opportunity. The par 4s can be challenging. A lot of just dog legs with water, dog legs with sand. If you're comfortable playing those, you can get around here. So it's nothing. It asks a lot of you, but because of the rollout, that's where it gets you. If you hit to the dog leg too far, you're into the rough. If you don't cover enough of it, then you're in trouble. So you've got to make those kinds of decisions. It's not necessarily, I mean, it is kind of narrow, but nothing crazy. All right, horses for courses. We got a lot of repeat customers in this tournament because you get invited over and over again to get chances. A lot of players in this field have multiple top 15 finishes here the last 5 years. Keegan Bradley has 4. Corey Connors has 3. Jason Day has 2. Matt Fitzpatrick has 4. Tommy Fleetwood has 2. Russell Henley has a pair. Victor Hovland has 2. Rory McIlroy has 4. Scotty Scheffler has 3, including 2 wins. Jordan Spieth has a couple. Sahith Theegala has a couple. And Cameron Young has a couple. So a lot of players in this field. I mean, it's basically a sixth of the field has multiple top 15 finishes here in the last couple of years. Jacob Bridgman played here last year. By the way, I want to note him. He was in the top 15 last year. One and only appearance. Something to consider because I do think having experience here matters. It's a weird golf course to play the first time because it's jarringly different than what you've seen this season to this point. And if you haven't seen it otherwise, it may just not, may intimidate you. Course fits. So we talked about this a little earlier. Completely different, these two first Florida swing events than we saw on the West Coast. 25% putting, 75% tee to green, particularly at Arnold Palmer, more like 20 to 23% off the tee, 20% around the greens, and that typical number, kind of 30 to 34% around the approach. So you got to get it off the tee. Most courses, it's in the teens. You don't have to put as much emphasis off the tee. Here, you got to get it in play, whether you hit it long and you get in the rough, but you still gain strokes, you hit it long and straight, or you hit a little bit shorter, but you got to keep it in play. You got to hit the fairways. Here are your kind of course fits. Keegan Bradley, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Tom Hoge, kind of interesting, but he's a shorter and straight guy. Adam Scott, Chris Gotterup, Russell Henley, shorter and straight, but not so short that it's kind of Tom Hoge length, right? A lot of guys who can put it in play. And then short game has been an interesting thing here the last few years. If you look at past champions, and we'll get to that in a minute, but if you look at past champions and you see how they performed, they look like bombers, right? Bryson's one here, Scotty's one here. I know he says he's not the longest, but he's a long hitter. Kurt Kitayama hits the crap out the ball. But the thing that they all did that week, putt well. And you don't win golf tournaments of the PGA Tour typically by having big neg strokes gained putting. But you can do it negative strokes gained putting if you do the other stuff, the more important stuff, frankly, better, right? That's what tends to happen here. A guy who can hit it far and hit it pretty straight or just position the ball well has a good putting week. That's who tends to win here. But before we get to those folks, hot hands, players in the last 5 PGA Tour events with multiple top 15 finishes, we've got a lot of them, 19 of them. So you got Akshay Bhatia, Jacob Bridgman, Pearson Coody, Joel Damon, Nico Echeverria, Fitzpatrick, Fleetwood, Hisetsune, Nikolai Højgaard. We've talked about a lot of these guys already. Siwoo Kim, who I think we're sleeping on a little bit. I don't love him at this venue, to be honest. Jake Knapp, Minwoo Lee, geez whiz, Shane Lowry, Hideki Matsuyama, Rory McIlroy, Maverick McNeely, who I think we're also sleeping on a little bit. He's playing well. He plays well on the West Coast. I don't know that I love him so much in Florida. Keith Mitchell, Colin Morikawa, and of course, Scotty Scheffler. Take a look at past champions. As mentioned, Russell Henley's the defending champion. Scotty Scheffler won 2 of the prior 3 before that. Probably should have won the Kitayama one, but Kitayama did. And then before that, a couple now live dudes. Bryson DeChambeau, who got around with his big pile of mass and trying to drive the 6th green from the tee and pulled off getting over the water. I mean, that was some crazy stuff. Yeah, that was crazy stuff. And then Tyrrell Hatton, who won basically the week before. The week after. I guess that would have been the week before the world went to heck. I was down there that week when Hatton won, and then they were leading into the Players' Championship the next week, and that's when it all fell apart. But you could kind of sense things were going wrong at that point. But Hatton didn't care. He won. He did great. All right, let's look at the short-term form, kind of triumvirate here. Something I love to talk about on the show is last 10 events played on the PGA Tour. Of those that you played, did you gain 1.2 strokes in the aggregate per round on the average? Your quality strokes gained, so strokes gained multiplied by the quality of your competition is measured by the official World Golf Ranking. Is that 1.5 strokes per round or greater? And then if you didn't fall in either of those categories, how are you doing strokes gain approach? Is it at least 0.6 strokes per round in those events of the last 10 that you played? If so, you're on that list as well. You want to be on all three, ideally, but if you're on that third list, maybe you're not quite up to snuff on the other things that, particularly putting, that can change, right? Whether that's on surface or architect or whatever. Putting is a high variable thing. So if you're doing well on the approach, you may be inclined to be playing well, or you're getting there. So on the total and quality strokes gains list, we've had a couple signature events already, so you're going to see a lot of similarity. Rory McIlroy, Tommy Fleetwood, Austin Smotherman playing weaker competition, the Cognizant, but did very well in the strokes gain. Scotty Scheffler, Shane Lowry, Jacob Bridgman, of course, Colin Morikawa, Ryan Fox is playing great, Adam Scott, Fitzpatrick, Jake Knapp. Jason Day is on the quality strokes gain list. Ryan Gerard's on the total list. That tells you a little something, but Gerard's playing great. Day's playing great. So if you take those folks who are basically the same, except Gerard and Day, and then you go to the approach list. McIlroy playing great on the approach. Notice you see Scotty Scheffler's not on this list. Chris Kirk, great approach play. Right now, not putting the ball well. Austin Smotherman hitting well. Fitz, Siwoo Kim, Gerard, Lowry, Justin Rose, again, hitting the ball well, putting atrociously apparently at the moment. Jacob, and he always kind of has vacillated between either putting very well or very poorly. Jacob Bridgman, Colin Morikawa, and Akshay Bhatia on that list. Again, not a great driver of the golf ball at the moment, or never been a great putter, always been a bad putter. But the approach play is good. Maybe there's something to be taken away from that. All right. Strokes gained tee to green leaders with low variance. So these are 11 guys that kind of fit the mold, that are gaining at least 0.75 strokes per round. Strokes gained tee to green in the last 10 events played. This is 30 events played. But you are relatively low variance, smoother curve. So Rory McIlroy, a lot of up and down. Scotty Scheffler, very little up and down. Scotty Scheffler down to Tommy Fleetwood, Siwoo Kim, Kurt Kitayama, we've talked about, Adam Scott, Ryan Gerard, Victor Hovland. Again, bad putting. Strokes gained tee to green. That's our guy. He emphasized the short game. You like Victor Hovland. Ben Griffin, Cam Young, Keegan Bradley, Chris Godwin. So, a lot of guys we talked about here so far, whether it's course fits or good course record, it kind of lines up here. All right, last slide, last graphic. This is for those of you who love your derivative bets. My kind of pick, my way of thinking about it. In the last 50 PGA Tour events played, of those 50 that you played, did you finish in the top 20, 45% or more of the time? I know guys who played the signature event schedules have it easier to do that. So oftentimes you're playing against just 72 total players. So to get in the top 20 with no cut, you get 4 rounds at it. A little bit easier. Understand all that. Still, Scotty Scheffler, 95.8% is frightening. Frightening. Rory McIlroy still very high. Russell Henley very high. Fleetwood in the 70s. And then you get a big drop because Xander Schauffele's lost some this year. Sepp Straka. Colin Morikawa, very, very consistent. Ben Griffin and Shane Lowry exactly on 50%. How about that? Shane Lowry's play so far this season's lifted that number. Robert McIntyre, 48%. Patrick Cantlay, that number continues to drop. Playing okay. Ricky Fowler, coming up a little bit. And then Siwoo Kim. That's about what he's been. I mean, that's the most consistent he's been in his career. I mean, I truly say that. He's playing great. So there's a lot of the guys to like here this week, I think. The value really is in the Puerto Rico Open this week. I think fear most weeks on the PGA Tour these days is somehow Scotty Scheffler wins and ruins everything. Do you have to have a piece of him at plus 325? No, I think that's insane. But there's a very realistic possibility a guy who's won this tournament twice and has played well enough to be in the top 10, 18 of the last 19 events played, and one stroke out in the 19th, that he could win. If he plays well on Thursday, he's probably going to win. That all said, there are some intriguing possibilities to bet this week, and there are reasons to like them. So hopefully you took that away from this. If you are interested in the Puerto Rico Open show, that is audio only. That is available on our podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find the press. You can either listen to that there, or you can find our audio only YouTube channel, Golf News Net Radio. You can listen to the show there and catch that too. Either way, however you feel like it, happy to kind of scratch that itch for those of you who really want to bet on the most degen tournament of the week. We'll have another show tomorrow to go through everything else, not PGA Tour this week. There's a lot to talk about, so it should be a full episode, again, available where you get your podcasts. If you want to get a hold of me, Ryan at thegolfnewsnet.com. I'm on social media at Ryan Ballinger or Ryan Ballinger Golf. The handle's Golf News Net on every social media service, or we tweet out links to our stories or share different videos from these shows, news conference videos, all kinds of stuff. You can follow that at Golf News Net. Or if you want access to all of our stuff that we offer, join Golf News Net for $40 a year, $70 for 2 years, or $100 for 3 years at golfnewsnet.com. Good luck with all your bets this week. Hope you do great. Hopefully we catch a couple winners here. I was on the heartbreak side of Shane Lowry at the Cognizant Classic. That was a downer. Good news, that was a one and done, not an actual money bet. That could have been a little bit of a financial problem, but that didn't turn out to be the case. We didn't have that issue. So hopefully we hit this week, and you do too. Thanks for watching or listening. I appreciate it. I'm Ryan Ballinger, and we'll catch you next time right here on The Press.